Hello, my name is Yudi and this is the Yudi Factor, a program that understands that knowledge is power. Therefore, week after week, we discuss issues and empower you with information to enable you make informed choices, especially when you factor in something you heard on the Yudi Factor into your situation. Today, we're going to be talking about relationship management skills. Why is it so important? How do you manage your relationship at work? How do you manage your relationship at work when your boss propositions you and it's something you don't want? Today we have an expert, Mr. Charles Okebuno. He's an internationally accredited mediator and a workplace relationship management expert. He's the CEO of IRMP Consulting, a firm with a vision of building organizations to last. He'll be empowering us with information, especially you'll get to know how to handle that boss that is propositioning you in the office. And that is if you do not go anywhere. My name is Yudi, and this is the Yudi Factor. We'll see you after this time out. Hello, Charles. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you very much.
A lot of people have problems with managing work relationship. Why is relationship management skill so important, especially workplace relationship management skill? And what is the role of that in effective production?
That's right.
Yes.
This is a critical question.
Yes.
And it comes at an opportune time. It comes at an opportune time when people are losing their jobs. It comes at an opportune time when organizations are looking to optimize profit.
Yes.
They want to stay afloat. They want to remain in business. And so the reason why relational skills becomes important is because professional skills gets you hired. But relational skills determine how long you stay hired until you're tired or fired. So fundamentally, the relational skills actually forms the fulcrum of every professional. So while organizations may be focusing on professional skills in terms of recruitment, the relational skills of their staff will determine a lot of difference. For example, an executive trainee succeeds by what he does, but the executive director succeeds by what others do.
That's true.
So in which case, you must build the ladder with which you climb to the top. And human beings form
that ladder.
That's why relational skills is fundamental. It's so important that even though it's at the background, it goes beyond leadership, it goes beyond customer service. You must understand the tripartite relationship between staff and their managers, or between staff and customers. And these are the fundamental lines that determine whether you are in business or not. That's why relational skills cannot be overemphasized.
So let's start with the very difficult one. You love your job. You want to stay in that job. But there's this boss who propositions you. And because you say no, he makes things difficult for you. How do you work with that? Let's start with that.
Now, in every workplace or in every professional career, there are key lines. The key lines are your integrity, your morality, your spirituality, and your dignity. Now, if either of these key lines are violated, you don't have a job. Because people who work sometimes have different reasons why they're working. Some work for satisfaction. They love the job. Some others work because there is an emolument. So, some jobs are a mask of survival. In which case, anyone who finds himself either in this place and is requisitioned by his or her boss, it could even be a male. A male with a female superior who's interested.
Yes.
It could be a female with a male superior. The first thing is you must have established what are your lines and where you must not cross from the first day. At the onset, a lot of people have bloodlines. They may be suggestive. They may give up information non-verbally that may be misunderstood in the workplace. So first and foremost, you need to ask yourself, what vibes, what information am I giving, verbal or non-verbal? Because the first key thing is I will try and understand before I seek to be understood. I want to understand why I am getting this sort of requisition or proposition from my superior. Am I paying attention to things that are outside my professional duties? If you clear that air and you find out that you're very professional, you're very focused, and you lay the foundation, which is to say you have established that you're a person of integrity, regardless of what position. Because when we talk about the root, stem, and branch, the root is not the lowest person in the organization. In actual fact, the root question is, how do we work together? So when you get into an organization and they can see that you're focused on your professional excellence, and in the midst of that, you are not giving in or expressing yourself in a way that other people misunderstand you, then you know that you're in for a challenge. You must make sure that that requisition or proposition does not change you. Rather, you emphasize your integrity to change your superiors. If this doesn't work, it's time to move on.
In this economy?
You know,
in this economy?
in reality, sometimes there are short-term solutions to long-term problems.
True.
That you give in does not mean there's no one else waiting on the line.
True.
You're not the first, you won't be the last.
True.
So you may lose what you're trying to save. But if you stand your ground sincerely, like I said, you haven't given negative impressions suggestively, directly or indirectly. At some point, the organization or your superior will have to decide between your excellence and their interests. And if you are an excellent person, one of the key things in the workplace, if you are an excellent person who is a problem solver, you won't look for a job for too long. Because every organization is not set up for charity. They are set up to solve problems. Even charitable organizations are looking for solutions. So that's about the way to navigate it. It's naughty, but...
Well, that should have been my last question, but it's a question that is bothering so many people. That's why I had to bring it first.
It's all right.
How would you define a good work relationship?
I would define it from two angles.
Yes.
From the angle of the superior. A good work relationship is such that you're close enough to your staff or your subordinates to influence them, but you're far enough to inspire them. That's an effective relationship. Close enough to influence them, far enough to inspire them. But if you're the subordinate, you must ensure that you do not turn from a favorite to a parasite. You're doing your work very well, you're getting accolades for it. Don't become a parasite, in which case, do not begin to think too much of yourself than you actually are. Maintain superior performance. Make sure that you are adding value. In which case, the most effective workplace relationship is one where there's a sense of purpose, a sense of ownership, a sense of belonging, and team spirit. Once you have those factors in, the relationship will always produce the right results.
When you talk about good relationship,
Yeah.
Are there people in that organization where you're working that you should have a special relationship with more than others?
Human beings have interests. Sometimes it is unconscious that you're closer to a certain kind of people than your other. We call it the stereotype. You're stereotyped in a particular direction, but you must be conscious of your stereotype because your stereotypes can be a bridge or a ditch. In which case, you need to find out what value every relationship produces and what value they bring to the table. Relate with them in such a way that you get sufficient value. In which case, there are certain relationships that must be at an arm's length for maximum value. And there are certain relationships that must be only a finger's length for maximum value. Your ability to tell the difference. Recall that I said that the superior is one who knows where to draw the line.
Yes.
Be close enough to influence them, but be far enough to inspire them. With that invincible measuring tape,
Yes.
you're able to optimize.
Hold the
workplace
thoughts.
relationships.
Hold the thoughts. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the UD Factor, and we're talking about relationship management skills, which is very important. And so far, we've talked about how to manage your relationship. If your boss is propositioning you, how do you manage that relationship? And how do you manage your work relationship to be effective in your office? And my guest is still Charles. No, Mr. Charles. So how do you build a work relationship? Take, for instance, you just newly employed in an office.
Right.
So how do you start by building a work relationship? Because obviously you get in there as a new person.
Yes.
Don't be comfortable
That's
in
right.
the beginning.
That's
so
right.
how do you start?
The first thing you need to do is to understand your workplace. You need to understand people. You measure twice, cut once. You come in there,
Yeah.
you look at your boss, you look at your subordinate, you look at your equals. What kind of people are they? It takes, psychologists say it takes about 30 seconds to like or dislike a person.
Or less.
Or much less. In which case, every other thing is built on that premise. Now, how do you move from those who instantly dislike you, they don't know you yet, but they don't like you, to getting them to like you? It's the value. How do you move from those who already like you in such a way that you must not abuse
That likeness.
So the first step is to understand the workplace. What kind of people are you working with? Where do they come from? What are their impressions? What are their expectations? You need to also apply what is called the 80-20 principle. The 80-20 principle is talk less, listen more. Observe. So observe with your eyes, listen with your ears,
Keep your mouth.
feel before you speak. That way, you're able to blend in. And if you find that you're a square peg in a round hole, file yourself in. Because if you don't fit in, you fall out. So make sure that you take your time. And it's not a waste of time. Don't join camps immediately. People get into an office and they find out that they are divided into camps and they pick a camp. And they end up becoming victims of the conflict in the workplace. Don't take a camp yet. It is very, very unwise. Make sure that you understand everyone. You can even be a new staff and be a rallying point. Because depending on where you come in, if you come in at the boss, everybody's trying to gain your favors. They're trying to tell you about other people. Are you going to entertain gossip? Are you going to entertain side talks? A lot of organizations have leaders or bosses who divide by rule. So, tell me, what did A say? B comes in. What did B say? C comes in. You can't build an organization to last like that. And what we have found out is, as long as the gossiper does not have a tail bearer, the gossip dies. So, you're not entertaining it. When you come in, whether you're new, you're old, whether you're coming in at the mid-level or at entry level, if you're new, you can come in as a boss. Sometimes the fact that you're new does not mean you're at the entry level. But whatever the case may be, try and understand your environment. Do not form camps.
How do you work in an antagonistic environment?
Many organizations are hostile. The workplace is hostile. And when it's hostile, it can be fertile. If you come into an organization, depending on also where you're coming from. You see, if you're at the entry level, there's very little you can do because of the hostility around you. You must, however, know that a workplace is made up of workspaces. So make sure that as it concerns your own workspace, there is peace, there is a congenial environment for productive endeavor. If you come in at the top, call people together. Consultation has a way of diffusing tension.
Yes.
Call people together. We're here to achieve goals. The most important question a manager should ask in a meeting. It's not, have you met the deadlines? What are the new propositions? What are the new actions that should be taken? How do we move forward? That's not the most important question a manager should ask when he calls a meeting.
What's the most important question?
Who amongst you isn't getting along with each other? That is the most important question to ask. Because it is those who aren't getting along with each other. They are the root. And if you don't take care of the root, it will show in the fruit. So, relationship management is a root, stem, and branch solution. You come in, this is it. Okay, let's deal with it. What are the issues? When you find out that there's so much tension, you caucus. Caucus means call in, find who are the ringleaders. Call them in privately and talk to them. When you have agreement with each of them, you can call them together and you can harmonize your position. That way, you are building a cohesive workplace. Because conflict really is not a bad thing. You disagree to agree. Whenever there's action, there's friction. It bugs me or it worries me when people say, oh, I don't have a conflict in my organization. If a organization where there's no conflict, there's no action. Because people have interests, people have backgrounds, people have desires, people have expectations, and they differ. So one way to do it is bring them together, consult, ask the right questions, listen appropriately, and make the decision based on a rich blend of information. That way, you find that relationship management, instead of becoming a task, it becomes a strategy. Because the first rule of relationship management is that we are different. The second rule is to know the difference.
In most of those kinds of environments, once you're hardworking and you're doing your work, you suddenly become an enemy because you're doing your own work.
That's right.
How do you handle that?
You have to ask yourself, did I come here to change this place or did I come here to be changed? When I hear people say, if you can't beat them, join them, I say that's a double-edged sword. If you are working in a place with less work and more pay, it's not so much of an advantage if you lose the job, only to get to a place and find that you're not good anywhere else. So you get into an organization, you're carrying out your responsibilities and people don't like you. What you first need to do is, don't stop being effective, but now try and carry people along. They always like those who help them do their jobs. A lot of people who are escapists, they are often looking for somebody who is going to help. You see, because if you're only doing your own and you're getting all the accolades, they say, oh, you want to be the superstar. Sometimes they even try and sabotage you. But look for consensus. Look for how they can benefit from your excellence. Identify the areas that they have difficulties in. And don't make a news of it, but help them out. Before you know it, they become interested in you being there than anywhere else. Because you're not taking the glory for the assistance that you make or give. But what happens is some people come to your workplace, they are very efficient, they are very excellent, they are doing very well, but they are taking all the glory. So when they ask who did this, they say, I'm the one who did it. When they ask who did this, I'm the one who did it. They say, I thought that I said he couldn't do it, so I did it. No. How about if I did it for you and I didn't tell them I did it for you and I let you take the glory? You become my friend.
Hold the thoughts. Hold that thought. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're talking about relationship management skills. And so far, I know you've been empowered with information on those difficult areas. For past episodes of the UD Factor, watch past videos on facebook.com/the UD Factor or watch it on the udfactor.com website. Like our Facebook page, leave a comment, and tell us the kinds of topics you need information on, and we'll try to get the experts to empower you with information. You're welcome back. Yes, Mr. Charles. We're still talking about work relationship.
Yes.
How do you manage, which is very common, but people really don't talk about it, but we are going to talk about it. How do you manage workplace relationship, love relationships in the office? We have a lot of them in secret,
That happens.
and they actually affect the work in the office.
Okay. I'm going to look at it from two angles as well.
Okay.
If you are the one in the relationship and you find out that you're tending towards an affection that goes beyond professional levels, okay, with someone, and I assume that you're single, so to speak, okay? Now, there's nothing debarring your development of that relationship. But you see, some organizations have policies. The policy is that a couple cannot be in an organization. Now, you want to also ask yourself, what kind of relationship is this? Is it a long-term relationship or a short-term fling? A long-term relationship means that the parties are planning to become husband and wife, in which case they have to decide who's going to leave, because we have to. You can't make it a secret. You'll be violating the corporate principles. If it is not a long-term relationship and it's a fling, it means that you are adding fuel to fire and expecting not to be burnt. Because in that relationship, there will be a lot of emotions, hidden emotions, obvious emotions, that can turn the office into a battlefield if anything goes wrong. In which case, you find out that the parties themselves are sabotaging the workplace. If this happens, you don't want that to happen to your career. So if you're not looking at it long term, then you need to pitch elsewhere for such a relationship outside your office, because you can cost you your job, it can cost the other party, or both of them. If you are a superior and you find out that your subordinates are in a relationship, you need to call them to ask this question, sometimes individually. What are your intentions? I can see the both of you. If you know that it's a long-term relationship, you can then advise them and guide them. Because couples run businesses and they succeed. Families run businesses. There's nothing wrong in having a relationship in the workplace. But you need to determine what is the essence and the object of the relationship. So you don't cut off a knot you could untie if you're a superior, because it could be a long-term relationship. And if they agree, you could say, put all that outside the office, be professional. When you're ready, one person has to move and make the right decision. Make sure it doesn't affect your job. And individuals play a key role here. It's possible to have a relationship and yet be very professional. It is often the relationships that are short-term, that have no future, that are usually flings, that affect the workplace.
Like married woman, boss,
yes,
or boss, married man.
Yes, those ones affect the workplace because there's a lot of emotions. So if one party sees another person talking to a client, he may say, are you starting something? Or talking to another colleague, say, I see you spending too much time with this colleague. Because there's no security in those relationships. So it affects the integrity of the workplace. Because interests and decisions will be taken that are against the ethics or against the profitability of the organization. So it's important to know where it is leading. If it is leading nowhere, stop it before it stops the company.
If, for instance, we have to be honest here, a married woman in an organization is dating her boss,
yes,
or a married woman boss is dating her subordinate, how should they handle that? It's not right.
Yes.
And then, what would you say to that kind
of? It will hamper productivity. You need to choose one of the two. You need to choose one of the two because, you see, in that kind of sensitive relationship, I just gave examples now, you're going to show favoritism. Obvious favoritism. When you show obvious favoritism, you have laid the foundation for conflict in the workplace. And I say that conflict in the workplace is like having a flat tire. If you don't attend to it now, you will attend to it when it matters, when it stops you. So if that happens at all, you must choose between the success of the organization and your career and the relationship. The one that matters to you is a choice you have to make. But one must go, eventually.
Husbands whose wives have relationships in the office, vice versa,
right.
How can they handle that? Apart from the moral issue, cases where the wives comes to the office to scream and shout, or there are cases where the man beats up the woman in the office. How can that be handled and settled in a way that is not so embarrassing and disgraceful?
Yes, the first thing is you want to, because it's already a marriage relationship, you want to maintain the integrity of relationship. Like you said, the embarrassment. So if you find out that these things exist, you want to talk to the partner because you have access to your own partner who is involved. So you want to talk to your partner. Look at the consequences of what you're doing. Okay? If you want to end the relationship as a result of that embarrassment, it's your choice. End the marriage, that's what I'm saying. That's your choice. But if you don't want to end marriage, you want it to be discreet, you want to move on, your partner is remorseful and all of that, then you can't set the whole place ablaze and call the firefighters. You be the firefighter to douse the tension. If your partner confesses or tells you what he or she has been up to and is willing to move on, then you're beginning to think about, are we going to change jobs? Has the person moved on? What do we do? You keep it quiet because you still want the marriage and you still want the person to have a career. It's a win-win. It's difficult, but I'm saying the options are open. If you decide to blow it up, no one can be held responsible for the embarrassment you would attract. If you decide to keep it quiet, it doesn't mean that you haven't solved the problem or makes you any less of a partner. What it means is that you value the relationship more than the offense.
One word before we close. What are the basic characteristics of a good workplace relationship? What are the characteristics?
Okay. An effective workplace relationship is where you do not avoid difficult conversation. There is effective communication, where you understand that it's not what you say but how you say it that matters. Where each and every party is happy to sit down at the table to resolve issues. Where they agree that there is a difference and they are willing to know the difference. This way you build the organization to last, because in which case you're working in a place where people are not afraid to express themselves and where they do not feel that there's a backlash when they do so. And then they can always bring advice, opinions, and suggestions that can transform the organization. A transformational organization is an effective organization.
An organization where a subordinate has an idea and goes to the boss.
And can share.
And can share.
That's right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chance. Thank you. Any fallout from this, I'll invite you to come and deal with it.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Deeply appreciate this.
Good to be here.
Thank you for your time. Well, good workplace relationship is very important, especially in this economy. You need to do your part. I'll play my part in having a good relationship in your workplace to help Nigeria come out of its economic woes. Until I come your way another time, my name is Yudi, and this is My Factor. See you again next week. Goodbye, and God bless.